Miss me?
That's still quite the rumble all the way up here.
Yeah, I radioed the engineer at the hydro farm. You cannot imagine this village.
Hey guys, I recently received a code to try the game The Foglands on the Meta Quest. I wanted to give you a bit of an overview of the game and give you my thoughts.
Starting runtime now.
The Foglands is an atmospheric, story-driven action roguelike game available on the Meta Quest and the PSVR 2. And if you're a fan of roguelike games like I am, then I think that you will enjoy this one. The game is set in a post-apocalyptic world where players take on the role of a runner, a hero of a sparse community living underground. The game's objective is to run into the unknown, fight monsters, scavenge loot, and try and make it back before you're swallowed up by the fog. And loot gives you the ability to unlock new guns, abilities, and more. And honestly guys, it's the carrot on a stick gameplay that I cannot get enough of lately. In these games, you are meant to die, and die a lot. But each time you get a little bit better, you understand the level a little bit more, you maybe start with a better gun or a new perk. That's part of the fun of this game, and that's what keeps this genre so fresh and fun. And The Foglands is developed and published by Welltold Entertainment, a team that prides themselves in creating character-driven stories. They do a good job of that in this game. And the game is fully voice acted as well, which is excellent. It gives you that extra level of VR atmosphere, which is nice to see. You start the game off diving into lots of story and confusion, which is just what I like in a roguelike game.
Best of you?
Bit late for that, don't you think?
Here's a tip for next time. If you listen real close, you can hear their dried up little pea brains jangling around in there, like the tail of a rattlesnake.
That's part of the charm of this genre. It's figuring it out, making mistakes, starting over, discovering something new that you didn't know you could do, and so much more. The levels encourage exploration and discovery. To be honest, when I first saw this game, I thought it would be too scary for me, especially in VR. But after a few runs, I was used to the enemies and the feel of the game and found myself traversing faster throughout the game. Although I might still hug the walls from time to time so nothing can sneak up on me. The creators describe this game as a rowdy bar fight action, and it can be just that. You punch enemies, throw items, shoot enemies, smash things, and more. You need to duck down and hide behind obstacles to avoid getting hit. If you are playing this game, make sure you give yourself plenty of room. Luckily, the Meta Quest you can play anywhere without being tethered to a cable. Yeah, that's a dig at other VR headsets. So if you can, bring this game to an empty room or even outside to get the full experience. I should add that you can play this game in a seated mode, but I didn't try it out. I was enjoying my experience standing and exploring the game this way. You can also set your controls to different styles. Turning can be smooth like you would expect in a traditional first-person shooter game, or you can use that older traditional VR first-person turn-based turning, where it's kind of more clunky and easier on the head type thing. If you have motion sickness, then I would recommend going with that one. It's good to have these options for all types of game styles, and I highly recommend playing with these settings so you can figure out what works best for you. And the game's visuals remind me of a Western in a way, with kind of Fallout vibes. It has a nice aesthetic to it, and the graphics are decent. I don't know if the game's taking full advantage of the MetaQuest 3, but it does a good job overall. I've seen better looking games and I've seen worse. It's right up there in the average spot.
Do this.
All these barns and farming structures out here? Did folks really think agriculture'd work?
Well, this is livestock and storage mostly. They tried to bring animal husbandry from Earth, but it died off right quick. I think only chickens made it. Then they domesticated scuttlers. Things that don't need much space can eat scraps and produce fertilizer, basically. Thankfully, hydroponic farming was much more reliable. So now all these structures are just rotting away, so watch your step, all right?
Will do. Over.
And gameplay wise, it's great. Like I said earlier, it's that carrot on a stick that keeps you coming back for more, getting more loot to buy a better gun, some grenades, and saying to yourself, okay, one more round. And I found even up to this video, I was discovering something new and that I've only scratched the surface of what this game offers. Full disclosure, I've only played this game for a few hours so far, but even as I'm writing this, I cannot wait to dive in for some more.
I did it.
And while the game does plenty of things right, I did run into some issues while playing, but I feel all of this can be fixed in updates. For example, I don't think that you should be able to get into a room that you can't get out of, unless of course it's a design choice. Which honestly I'm not mad at, because it taught me to always make sure that I have a fuse on me, but I wasn't 100% sure what was going on, so I found myself tinkering around in this room for more time than I should have before I pressed start and abandoned that run. And sometimes when I would go to the store in the game, it would act like I don't have enough money to buy the upgrades, and it was confusing at first, but then I realized that it was simply a bug and then I could purchase those items anyways.
Nice choice.
And I also had a few hard crashes on the MetaQuest, typically right as I died when in the game, which didn't seem to affect my runs, but it is jarring to have a hard crash when you're playing in VR. I simply needed to boot the game back up and I was back in it. Overall, these are minor things that I feel will get addressed in the game, and it didn't discourage me from playing the game, and it shouldn't discourage you from checking this game out. And I'm not joking, guys, when I say this is one of my more favorite VR experiences I've had since owning the MetaQuest. VR is still young in the gaming space, and I feel so many games are still technical demos, more than full-fledged games, but not this one. It's full of deep story, full-on voice acting, engaging gameplay, and mystery. And guys, hopefully you enjoyed this overview of the Foglands on MetaQuest. If you're interested in checking out this game, make sure you check out the link in the description below. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them in the comments section below. Have a good one, guys.
I knew you couldn't resist.